Hello everyone, Aga here with Balance Lab. Today I'd like to talk to you about somatic experiencing and somatic processing. This is something that I offered as a part of a holistic treatment. And the reason why I adapted this technology of healing and coming back to the self is because I realized a while ago that there is this storage capacity in our bodies, and our bodies accumulate imprints of events that took place. And these imprints are like movies, mental loops, little stories that have affected us on many levels. Could be a positive experience, could be a negative experience. So as long as we have a body and we are part of this electromagnetic field on this planet, experiences of our ancestors and our personal experiences are sort of circulating, orbiting around the axis of the body. They're not visible to our physical senses or noticeable in a way that's easy to discern. However, they 1000% impact our lives and our perception on many levels. It's just the information is quite obscured, and so we don't realize often what drives us, our thinking, how we view ourselves, how we view the world. And what I notice in my practice, people who do really well and heal really fast allow themselves to feel. If you don't feel, you don't heal. As a result of survival strategies that we're using in order to move forward, we try to push away those imprints that are less than pleasant. So oftentimes experiences from childhood, trauma, just adverse life and childhood experiences that we repress, we deny. We're just trying to package it away, sequester it away. And whenever we do that, little by little, what happens is we lose access not just to the information and not just to like the emotional aspect of the experience, but also we lose ability to naturally feel those higher elevated emotions like joy, like peace, like just natural sense of well-being. And fast forward several years later, you can find yourself in reality that is just kind of quite flat. People would say, oh, I feel just fine, but they're always looking for stimulations outside, sense of validation from other people, because there is lack of this contentment within. And so people need constant stimuli. They need to be admired, or they need to perform a certain way at work, or they need to collect accolades, whatever the case may be, compliments, in order to feel enough, right? Because that is something that majority of people on earth struggle with. We've been imprinted negatively by those bombarding messages that we need to perform, that our well-being and our value in society is based on how we behave. And so we really lose ourselves in the process. And then I see people in late 30s and 40s at my doorsteps, and they're so numb emotionally that, let's say we do hypnosis, we do somatic work, but for them it's literally like just going through some steps in a game. They don't actually feel the emotional experience that is part of that journey. It's sort of like passing the test, because if they pass the test and they do it all intellectually in their brain, they think that the problem will be resolved. Nothing could be further from the truth. And that's what inspired me to create this video, because it's not performative. It's not about pleasing me and going through the steps and now your healing is complete. Healing is a journey. Whatever level you already resolved, there will be stuff on a more subtle, more subconscious level that will surface, and you'll be able to in time unpack it. And life has a way of handing those situations to us, either health related, or we lose someone dear to us, or we discover that we were raised by narcissists and sociopaths and so on, and we've been conditioned to believe that we can never really see realistically our childhood. And so there comes a time, and typically it's like mid-late 40s, when all of these smoke screens and pleasures and certain things that we look for in life are not enough. And so we experience crisis, and this crisis invites us to have a relationship with whatever symptoms you're having, be it emotional, be it somatic. And the structure that we have created to survive is beginning to crumble. And I believe anyone who really spends a little bit of time with themselves and maybe meditates or really contemplates and self-assesses will get to that point in their life. And that's a good moment to really examine the content of your life and of your inner self, so that you can truly access these deeper domains of your soul, of your heart. Obviously, that requires humility, that requires ability to stop lying to yourself, stop accepting superficial kind of connections, attachments, because that's not love, that's not real. It's very transactional, performative. So I don't know if you ever tried somatic process, but if you are interested, I really recommend it. The body is like a pendulum, and the body can sway you different directions, show you experiences. It's not about re-traumatizing or bringing forth like overwhelming level of emotions. However, for each of us to find that inner balance, if we're having decent job, if we should be happy, but for one reason or another there's just lack of satisfaction. Maybe you notice that you're not very trusting, that you share very little, that there is just this lack of deeper sense of contentment with yourself and the world, then it's really a good time to look under the hood. You don't have to wait until something really powerful and negative happens, but it's always a good idea to check in with yourself and ask yourself some questions. Have I been ignoring some signals that my inner being is telling me? Am I receptive to the signals that I am receiving? For example, maybe some people create sense of anxiety within you, or you feel drained because you are the one who are listening, or you're a people pleaser, or maybe you feel like you're a failure because you are not in a relationship and you are 40 years old. And so you have these deep questions and also disappointments. A lot of people in this age group that I just mentioned have a very hard time managing disappointments, and life offers lots of disappointments and lots of joys. And the idea is to learn how to regulate your own emotions. When we come from dysregulated families, as kids, we tap into our parents or caregivers' nervous system in order to find emotional equilibrium. And so if the pattern from childhood is very dysregulated, where there is lots of shifting the blame and lots of aggression, verbal and whatnot, lack of support, lack of safety, then we're going to subconsciously seek people like that who will provide this sort of regulation, because we don't know how to create equilibrium within ourselves. And so it's important to observe your own patterns and see what are you seeking, what is that part of you that doesn't feel satiated, and dig a little bit deeper. You know, I live in LA right now, and I see lots of people in dysfunctional relationships, or people who are single because they try to fill a void in their lives, and there is some level of ecstasy with a partner, and then they discover, you know, that this partner is very selfish. Narcissism is quite a trend here in the state where I live. But it's important to, you know, assess your circumstances and notice, you know, if you are numbing your feelings by food, alcohol, and gambling, going to endless events, just denying, you know, the feelings that you have inside that are less than pleasant, instead of actually witnessing them. So somatic process means that you open yourself to full witnessing, and you are equally okay with experiencing pain, joy, disappointment, calm, ease, the plethora, the whole rainbow of human emotions. When we allow ourselves to feel fully the depth of our beingness, you know, the beauty and the tragedy of human life, all of those incredible aspects, you know, the fact that we're here for certain amount of time, and that in and of itself can be quite invigorating or agonizing, depending on how we look at it, but also allows us to appreciate every moment, you know, much more. But often we deny ourselves that full picture. And when we do that for one reason or another, survival, or we're busy, we're ignoring the symptoms in the body, we're ignoring our emotional symptoms, maybe depression, lack of energy, insomnia, and so on. It's not just aging. You can be feeling wonderful in any stage of your life. It's just that there are these domains, these spaces, these rooms, in a proverbial attic that we need to look into, or go into the basement, right? So let me know, what do you think about somatic work, if you have done it, and what your experience was like. In my practice, lots of clients have incredible myoclonic releases, cathartic experiences, in safety of my presence, and they can move on, they can complete that cycle, because the mind, the brain, you know, if there was a situation in this person's life, my client's life, that was suppressed, let's say a childhood experience, the mind will never, the brain will never stop kind of in the back of your head, ruminating and trying to complete that cycle, trying to finish this movie, if you will. So when we don't have like sense of closure, when we haven't really restored the peace with something that happened, let's say 30 years ago, that we're not fully aware of, it takes a life on its own, and it really drives our decisions, decisions about the world, about our future. And this is really something profound. We think that we create our own reality. Well, it's not exactly like that. So many of these decisions that we make are automated. They're really streamlined, and they have started to formulate, those patterns typically way before you were born, because we inherit, of course, tendencies from our ancestors, the problems they solved, the traumas they endured. This is all part of your soft technology in the body. So this is like a library that you can tap into, but we need to be able to actually perceive these things, right? So sometimes, it takes a little bit of time to become sensitive to it, and also lifestyle is important. So we're not numbing emotions, we're not numbing the experience in the moment, we allow ourselves to feel it, and we are creating atmosphere in our lifestyle for that healthy experience. If people are drinking, smoking, they're numbing, they're using crutches, and that's okay from time to time, but on a regular basis, it really strips you from the ability to understand, why are you here on this planet, and beyond, providing for your children, having a good time, traveling. And that requires, introspective process that includes really sensing those messages from the body. And so when we become open, the experiences can pass through us because we're not trying to reject it. When we don't reject anything, the experience comes a little bit like a wave. It just is able to free itself from the domain of human body, and you are free of that. It's a little bit like, a storm or a tornado, for example. It passes through a neighborhood, right, and then it just leaves. Maybe this is too strong of a example. Whenever there is no resistance to something, it will pass, and it will leave us relatively unmarked. That's what I was trying to say. We will not be harmed by it. We might be transformed by it, eliminated by it, but we will not be harmed. If we try to elucidate control, we will not be able to actually transform. We will be damaged. We will be confronted with powerful force that we don't understand and definitely cannot master. We have to understand the force first in order to master it, and that happens, through the human experiences, also on a physical level. So I hope that gives you an idea of what the somatic experiencing is. Let me know if you have any questions, if this was helpful, and I really encourage you to do some somatic work and allow yourself to really understand the wisdom of the body, the power of remembering everything that your body has stored, and this way you will be able to fully complete the purpose that you came into Earth and evolve. Because ultimately the idea is that we don't repeat those cycles of life and death, the samsara cycles, but we actually evolve from this plane of existence, and we can choose where we go next. But it's important not to get yourself to be persuaded by those temptations of the external world. These are, smoke screens, and when we're young, we're definitely driven by hormones and senses, but then there comes a time where it really is to our benefit to focus internally and solve our own equations, ambiguities, understand the depth of our emotions, our thoughts, our patterns, and so on. And really then you can connect to your own divinity and really honor yourself and everybody else on this planet once you understand deeper of the cycle of life. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.